Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to CEO Interviews, a production of Agoracom in which we take the time to speak with small cap CEOs about what's going on at their companies. With us today, I'm ecstatic to have again Brad Loisel. He's President, CEO, and founder of betterU Education Corp. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol betterU, and for our friends in Germany on the Frankfurt Exchange under 50GA. Now, for those of you who are new to the story, and that's going to be most of you, because the company just listed on the TSX Venture Exchange in March, April. The company has the only global education marketplace serving India. It's also the largest such marketplace in the emerging markets. It's capitalizing on a mobile payment structure that others are just unable to provide, and as a result of that, many of the world's leading online educators are now partnering with the company to service India. The company's timing couldn't be better because the Indian government has a mandate to educate 500 million, that's 500 million of its citizens by 2022. As we all know, you can't do that through infrastructure. You need to do it digitally. And India is expecting online education to double this year alone from 20 billion to 40 billion in 2017. So the company's timing couldn't be any better. Brad, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Troy. I'm very glad to be back. It's good to see you again. I'm looking forward to talk about the business a little more. Yep. Excited about it.
And that's what we're here for because, look, I think you're one of the most exciting companies we've seen come out of the TSX Venture in a long time. And we'll talk in a while about why I see you as an Uber/Airbnb kind of company. But for everyone at home, first, let's talk about what investors can watch for in the short and medium term here as you just started launching things.
Well, what's interesting about the company is it's taken us years to build the infrastructure and the partnerships and things like that. And with anything that takes time, these partnerships are now coming to fruition. We have many partners that have joined. Some billion-dollar companies have joined us. So over the next short term, we're going to start seeing a lot more revenue, a lot more growth, a lot more visibility in the country. The challenging thing about a country like India is you have to have a lot of exposure and a lot of credibility associated with your name. There's a lot of companies that try to go into the country, but unless they have that association of credible partners with them, it's very difficult. We have about 30 or so corporations that we're engaged in quite closely, building out corporate training programs, leveraging our mass database of partnerships. We now have over 10,000 programs on our marketplace, which is absolutely fantastic. Those partnerships are now transitioning into opportunities across the country for people who are looking for all different types of education. So our revenue is starting to pick up. We launched our digital campaign recently, which is the beginning of our overall marketing initiatives. We had some great responses. Over 14,000 new visitors went to our marketplace. We've had thousands of registrations. So now we're tapping into converting them into purchases, which we've had a bunch as well. There's lots and lots of partnerships that are building at a lot higher level, government-wise, as well, that are integrating. So in the next short term, medium term, you'll start seeing some big partnerships integrating with our system, which is have some great results for us.
And is it fair to say because India wants to educate and skill up 500 million of its citizens by 2022, that the kind of partnerships you're seeking some are just the traditional education, where people where citizens get degrees, and others are industry specific, like tech certifications and other kind of certifications. So you're covering the entire gamut here, correct? You're not just going K to 12.
Yeah. So our business vision has been to provide education to everybody. The challenge that the country faces, and most emerging markets are the exact same thing. When you're talking about a mass population of 500 million people to train up, each individual has their variable needs, right? So if you look at myself and yourself, for example, we have different education, different experiences, different levels of skills. There's not one educator around the planet that can provide education to every single person across the country. It just doesn't exist because of those variable needs. So our system and our vision for this and bringing together so many partnerships is that if we can have a collective collaboration of educators in one place with algorithms that we create, that when someone comes in, does an assessment for their particular needs on what they're looking for a particular job, our algorithms will run and pull together all the programs that run across global best of breed educators and pull together a learning path that achieves their individual learning requirements for their particular job interests. That doesn't exist anywhere on the planet. No one's doing it because no one has the breadth and depth of education across so many partners except for us. And that's the only way you can address mass education of a population. It's the only way.
Now, if I was a new investor at home, I know the first thing, and I'm just discovering betterU education right now, the first thing I'd be thinking is, oh, Brad, that sounds great, but, you're going to get crushed by some bigger guy that's going to come in and just do it better. But
yeah,
to me, the secret sauce to all this is the fact that you've created a payment processing system that addresses the entire country that all those other companies haven't done, and as a result, they've got to go through you. So talk to us more about your payment processing, advantage and how that's a barrier to entry for other companies, and which is forcing them essentially to partner with you instead of trying to compete with you.
Yeah, so it's there's a multiple of things that create our value proposition. The payment processing is one component. It's not unique to us. It is difficult to obtain and build. So from going into an emerging market, in order to do business in a country like India, and other emerging markets are the same, they're a closed currency country, meaning that if someone within India wants to buy something from an educator outside the country, they're limited by what they can do. And I'll give you an example. In India, less than 2% of the population have credit cards. If you look at around the world, in Canada or the US, for example, if you want to buy a course from Harvard online, you have to use your credit card. So less than 25 million people in a population of over 1.3 billion can't buy, even if they wanted to. They can all see it. They can go online. They can look at the programs they're interested in, but there's a payment disconnect. So in order to overcome that payment disconnect, you have to have an operating entity in India. So we spent almost 2 years building our operation company. We had to incorporate in India. We had to go through the process of doing that, which took a long period of time. We had to set up an Indian bank account. We had to set up an Indian payment processing system. All those components took quite a long time to do. Most people, especially in the education field, won't spend that amount of time to set something up like that. They'll just go, it's too difficult, let's focus on a different country, or let's find a partner that we might be able to work together. So that's one natural barrier that people have to overcome. The second component with what we're doing is we're the only global education marketplace that exists that have brought together so many education partners around the world. When you look at large educators, and I'll take Skillsoft as an example. Skillsoft is one of our partners. They've joined us. Skillsoft's an over $2 billion company, 400 million global learners. But why did they partner with us? They partnered with us because our business model in India is to service the mass population. We set up our company to do that. Skillsoft's business is not to do that. Their business is to focus on corporations, provide corporate packages and things like that.
Right.
While they're $1 billion company, they chose to partner with us because of our business model. And this goes to other partners that we have that are quite large. Bombay Stock Exchange, largest stock exchange in terms of membership in the world. They're sitting on our marketplace. We have Pluralsight, one of the largest technology trainers in the US. They're on our marketplace. And we have a whole bunch more. So that's another unique value proposition. And there's a tipping point. The more partners that we bring on our marketplace that are so significant, the harder it's going to be for the Googles, the Facebooks, the Microsofts to compete, because the reality is for them to do that, it's probably easier just to buy us, because then they would get access to our entire network than they would to try and build it up. Our partnerships aren't just us setting up a link with these institutions. It's a back-end integrated system. We do all the registrations. We collect 100% of the funds that come through us, and then we pay them back their portion after we've collected and processed the individual. And then we're kind of like Uber in the sense that we then direct the learner into the learning environment of the institution that they've partnered with through us. So we're a cross between Amazon and Uber. And that's our business model for the emerging markets.
And for everyone watching at home, this is why I love your business. It is exactly how most unicorns are being built in Silicon Valley today. You're asset light. In fact, you're almost asset non-existent outside of computers and desks, right? And we're laughing about that, but for everyone at home, think about it. Uber doesn't own a taxi, but what it does is put the local driver in contact with me on the platform, collects the payment, splits the payment, keeps the rest, and away they go. And they're a $70 billion company. They're not bogged down by taxis and vans and all that fleet stuff, which is very expensive to acquire, very expensive to maintain. Think about Airbnb, everyone at home. Now, if you don't have to rent a hotel room anymore, you can go through Airbnb, and if you want to travel to India, there are people like, let's say there's a guy named Brad Wazell in India who owns a condo there and will rent you his condo for the week. So you're going through the Airbnb platform to rent that condo, but Airbnb doesn't own any of the assets, so it can grow really quickly. That's what I love about betterU. betterU is exactly that. It's an intermediary. Without your asset light, you don't actually own the courses. You don't create the courses. You don't have to modify and update them. You're just connecting the people who want to be educated in India with the global educators around the world through a gateway that's got extremely high barriers to entry. So
let me talk about that as well, just a little bit more, because I think it's important that people understand this. When we were building this model, we looked at Amazon and the Uber model and structure. When you look at educators around the world and some of the problems with people trying to integrate education from somebody else into their systems, from a management perspective, most educators will never let another institution proctor their own education. They want to make sure that they manage that learner. So there was a disconnect on companies that have tried this in the past on how do I put together a marketplace that integrates this content. We decided there's no point in trying to integrate the content. There's a barrier there. All these educators need to control their own education, which makes total sense. From a scalability perspective, in a market that has so many people with so many variables, we had to look at how do we achieve mass scalability and growth to meet the needs of so many different groups across different sectors. So in India, the National Skills Development Corporation had set up under the Minister of Finance almost 40 sector skills: hospitality, healthcare, IT, you name it, telecom. And each one of these sectors are responsible for educating the masses. When you look at educators around the world, take Skillsoft as a prime example. Skillsoft doesn't have programs in aerospace. They don't, because that's not their field. They don't have programs in hospitality. They don't have programs in healthcare. All these different sectors need somebody who's able to say, you know what, we now have a need that we're going to try and address across the mass population. There's 10 million people that need training in this particular vertical of industry. Where are they going to get the education? Our marketplace and our team then goes out and says, hey, you are the leaders of educating educators for healthcare. We want to integrate you into our system so we can now address this particular industry. Every educator that exists across the world today don't do that. They're focused. edX is focused on selling university programs from educators across the world. Plurisight's focused on technology and business-related courses. A lot of these individuals, they're not going to chase after healthcare and aerospace and all the different sectors that exist. Our marketplace is that. We have the flexibility, like Uber, to bring in all these different players from around the world that then service the masses.
Right. Those other companies, their models work in developed countries like Canada and the United States, where if George Tech strictly focuses on teaching people about healthcare, and then I can do that because there are enough people in North America and I can run a business out of it. But in a place like India, you're right, there's so many people that need to be trained up and skilled up. You're going to have to pull in, like you said, aerospace, health, retail, telco, you name it, right? So that's what I love about what you guys are doing. Now let's talk a little bit about, you've had some high-level appointments come in, because look, visibility is important. So in the last couple of months, you've announced, I'm going to read this, Chris Gale, who's one of India's most recognized cricket players. Man, that's a big deal, right? You're bringing in like a Tom Brady. He's a brand ambassador. Explain to us why you brought in someone like him for that purpose.
So we have a few. Chris Gale is one. We have Satnam Singh, which is the first NBA player ever to get drafted from India. And then we're working on some other ones. But the reason why we brought these guys in is in India, again, it comes down to credibility, trust, relationships. When individuals look at marketplaces or websites and stuff like that, how do you know who's legitimate? How do you know, is there substance behind what people are buying? So I looked at that and I thought, okay, if we can bring in together leaders from around the country, not only from an education perspective, from a government perspective, from an academia perspective, but also from a celebrity perspective. People who endorse these type of businesses tend to draw in a lot more people from a credibility perspective. When you look at the US, look at all these guys, George Clooney and all these celebrities who are fighting for certain things. They're fighting for freedom of religion. They're fighting for women's rights and all these different causes, education and things like that. Those type of, their type of following and their type of status in society really brings attention to something that's important. So I thought if we can do the same thing and bring in celebrities within industry to partner with us and see the value of what we've done, I think it can help a lot. Chris Gale and Satnam both had educational problems. When they were both younger, and I first met with them and talked to them about the challenges that they had, we connected on that. They agreed that what we're building makes sense, and they got behind us and behind betterU because they thought, you know what you are building makes total sense for India, and we'd love to be part of it. There's also Kevin Harrington, right? Kevin Harrington is an entrepreneur from Shark Tank in the U.S.
One of the original sharks.
One of the original sharks. So Kevin and I connected in the U.S. and we talked about how his interest in betterU. They just launched Shark Tank, the original series, in India across the country. So from a visibility perspective, he's gaining a lot of visibility in India. So when I approached him, I thought, you could be a great partner for us. He came in, aside from brand ambassador part, the celebrity part, he also joined our board of advisors, because one of the things that I was looking for, aside from the celebrity visibility, having people who have built successful companies. Kevin's built some very, very large companies, many on the stock exchange, billion-dollar valuations for some. Very, very smart individual. So I thought if I had him on a board of advisors with us, he can guide us. He can give us advice and say, what about this? What about that? Great results.
And for people at home, that's what I'm going to say. Read between the lines a little bit, because a guy like Kevin has built a number of companies, but he's not there to flip nickels and do small stuff. He's only going to dedicate his time to companies that have real scale and that he can help scale. So I'm going to assume, Brad, we haven't talked about this, but I'm definitely going to assume that someone like Kevin had to take a look at the business plan and a lot of key performance indicators and things like that, and decided that, yes, I can be helpful to this company. Because if you weren't, if you're just going to be a small company, I'm pretty sure Kevin would say, look, you're a good guy, Brad, you got a good thing, but you're not going to scale high enough for me to be any value to you. So why should why should you be wasting your time and resources on me? So to me, that's a read between the lines thing. I don't know what you want. Maybe you can't say much, but I can.
No, I can add to that. And you're absolutely right. A lot of people that come on board, they look at the business and look at what we're building. And a lot of them have skill sets and knowledge and experiences that they know something's good when they see it, right? And Kevin, when he first met, he said he loved it. He loved our business. He loved our business model. He loved where we're going. But it's not just Kevin. We have some leaders within India that have joined us. For example, the former High Commissioner Ambassador of India, he's been the ambassador for India for 30 years, is on our board of advisors. So he retired. He was Canada's High Commissioner for India. He represented India in Canada. I got to know him over the years. He joined us because when he saw our business and we worked together for years, he said that what we're building will make a huge difference across the country. We have the CEO of the telecom sector in India, one of the national skills development verticals. The CEO of the telecom sector is on our board of advisors as well. We have the president of betterU, a Japanese firm, $4 billion education firm, that he's one of the presidents for one of their subdivisions. He's on our board of advisors as well, because he also sees the value of what we're building. We have a lot of, and there's more, we have a lot of sophisticated and very knowledgeable, experienced senior people from different parts around the world that have joined us. Stuart Beck, he's the former High Commissioner for Canada in India. He's now the President CEO of Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada. He's on our board of advisors. Bob Cross, who is the CEO of an oil firm out west, is on our board of advisors. So we have a good group of people that really understand and believe in what we're doing.
Yeah, and these are people whose time is incredibly valuable. They want to help companies grow. They want to help causes at the same time. For example, the gentlemen from India you mentioned aren't just there because they want to help the company grow. They're there because they can make an impact on the future of India by getting trained up and skilled up faster. But the point is, these people won't they just won't join an advisory board unless the company can scale fast enough to make it worth their time where they can be valuable. So when you put all of these together, that for me is one of those read between the line items where, you know, these guys are on scale, and the natural assumption, the information has to be, they think you can scale. So on that note, last question, you know, what's the last word on betterU and what people should be looking for in the company over the next 6 to 12 months?
So betterU is positioning ourselves to be the only, not only education marketplace, but education to employment ecosystem. So we're putting together partnerships. We have technology that we're integrating in to the point that we're building it so that we're becoming the leading educator for the country, not just for India. This model has the potential to grow outside to other emerging markets. We, just so you know, from a business perspective, we've already been approached by multiple countries, groups in those countries, asking if we can duplicate the model into those countries. Our focus, we're razor sharp focused on India, because we want to make sure that our model, our processes, our team, our infrastructure, everything is smooth running and everything's operating properly. And then the future, we'll look at that when we're ready. But it is in our mindset, and this could be a global company very quickly. We do have offices we have an office in Australia with a team over there that's working with partnerships for that area. We have an office in Canada and obviously in India. Our team has grown in India. It's going to continue to grow and scale. And from a government perspective, we're working with a lot of senior people in India now. That's really going to take our company to the next level.
And I'm going to tell everyone at home, you know, it's too early to tell. But you could be watching the development of a unicorn company as we speak, because the company has the technology, it's got the barriers to entry, it's got infrastructure in the country, great partnerships, great advisors, great marketing that we haven't even had a chance to talk about today, but we'll talk about in the next one. So all the ducks are lining up, and the digital launch has already yielded some nice results from a traffic point of view, and we'll talk about that on the next time you're here. But to me, you've got to watch betterU, not just because they're a client, but they wouldn't be a client unless I believed in them. And when I speak about the company, I believe in the company's prospects 100%. And I hope you do too. Brad, thanks for joining us today. As always, I know you're a busy guy. You're working in multiple time zones. So when you take time out like this to talk to everyone at home, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate being on the show as well.
You've been watching Brad Wazell. He's President and CEO of betterU Education Corp. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol betterU, and for our friends in Germany on Frankfurt under the stock symbol 50GA. If you want more information about the company, get to Agoracom, punch in the company's name or stock symbol. Take a look at all the information we've got there. Watch the previous interview that we already did with Brad, because if you like this one, you're going to love the one we did before, and then stay up to date with us and the company going forward. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you soon.